Hello everyone, welcome to the new series of Touchdesigner videos. In this new series, I'm going to show how to make generative art in Touchdesigner. I think there are many different ways to make generative art, but these are my approaches. First, I will bring the noise. I put the period on 2. I increase amplitude to 1.3 and I lower down the exponent to 0. And I increase the harmonic spread. I put it on 8.2. I want to have a black and white noise. I lower down the harmonic gain. And now I go to transform, and in my transform Z I write a bit time, that's seconds. I multiply it into a small number. Now I right click at the end of my noise and I bring another noise. But before that, I want to change the resolution for my first noise. My second noise automatically will receive this resolution. I go to chop and I bring a constant. And I change the number to 1024. Now here I assign it to my resolution. So in the second noise, I again go to period and I put it on 2. I put the other parameters harmonics on 0, 3 of them. And I lower down the exponent. I put it on 0.25. And I increase the amplitude. Now from the first noise, I copy the translate Z script and I paste it to the translate Z of the second noise, but I multiply it in 0.2 to make it a bit faster. Now here I want to animate the period of the second noise. So I go to chop and I bring an LFO. I put the frequency on 0.03. Now I add a math. Now in the math I go to range and I put the true range to 2, 2, 4. Now I assign the math to period in my second noise. But as you can see, since my LFO is on sign, it gets 0 and it gets negative number. So I put the type on Gaussian. After noise, I add an edge. And I add a composite. But first I go to edge and I increase the strength to 20. And I increase the sample step to 5. Now for my second input to my composite, I add a level. I connect the noise to level. Here I also add a node after the composite and RGB key before my node, because I want to have my output in my background. I divide my layout to two parts. From the right part, I go here and I choose top viewer, and in the left part, I right click, I go to display and I turn off the backdrop tops. Now I want to use this level as kind of a transparent whitish background, so I lower down the opacity to 0.02. And I add another edge, but this time I put the strength and sample step on 1. And I change the color to black. I connect a new edge also to my composite. So I already put my composite operation on over. I want the level to be the lower layer, and the white edge to be the middle layer, and the black to be the top layer. So I change the order based on that. Now after composite, I add a transform. And I write the ABS time.second script also for the rotation of the transform. And I change the extent to mirror. After transform, I add a feedback. I want to make a feedback loop here. I add a level. And I add a composite. From transform, I connect to composite and I drag and drop my composite in my feedback. But you can also go to your feedback and drag and drop your top on target tops. I also put the operation of this composite on over. In the level, I go to post and I decrease the number. Before, I also posted a video about how to make feedback loops. It's a very short video. If you want, you can also watch that. Now here I go to the level that I had before, the composite, and I increase a little bit the opacity. I like it now. Now after my feedback loop, I add a displace. And I connect the composite to both input. I lower down the UV gate. I put it on 0.35 something. I make a new branch with a level. I increase the contrast for this level. Here in the displays, I put the extent on mirror. Now we have kind of the pattern on our background instead of lines. After displays, I add another level. As you can see, most of the nodes that I'm using are similar. I'm mainly using level, displace, noise. In this level, I also increase the brightness and gamma. And I decrease the contrast a little bit. After level, I add a blur. I increase the pre-shrink and filter size. I put the pre-shrink on 6 and filter size on 24. After blur, I add another level. I put the contrast on 2.75 and brightness on 1.25. I lower down the gamma of my first level. If you go to image filter in your palette, there are like some filters. One of the filters that I like to use is pixelate. I add the level to pixelate and the output of pixelate to my output. Now you saw that my pixelate got connected to both RGB key and node because both of them were selected. I increase the pixel size horizontal and vertical to 50. I get a copy from my pixelate. But this time I put the horizontal pixel size on 10 and the vertical on 5. Now I have two different pixelate size of my image. I make a composite and I composite these two pixelates. I put the operation on maximum. Now my image is too blurry, so I decrease the blur. After composite, I add an edge. Now you see like the both pixels are kind of visible. I add a composite after my edge. And I connect the composite before my edge and the edge to the new composite, and I put the operation on maximum. I increase the strength of the edge. So down here we had 11, which we increase the contrast. After this I also add a blur. You will see what am I going to do with this new branch. I increase the filter size and pre-shrink number. And I add another level after this blur. I increase the gamma and contrast. Now at the end of my patch, I'm adding another composite. And I add the new blur to this new composite. I didn't want my edge to be very pointy, so I wanted to kind of create this blend with this blur. Now here I add another composite. And this time I connect the first level from the second branch to this composite. And I put the operation on over. And here I change the order. So my first image is on top of the pixelate. I again go back and I decrease the opacity of my first level. So at the end of my patch, I add another noise. And I connect the last composite to both input. In this noise, I turn off the monochrome. And I increase the period to 1.48. And I increase the harmonic spread to 3.25. And I change the harmonic gain to 0.12. I increase the exponent number to 1.9 and I increase the amplitude a bit. By changing these parameters, as you can see, our color sharpness is different. And now in the transform, I again write this script to make my noise moving. Now here I add a level and I invert the image. I add a composite and I connect both noise and level to this composite. And that's it. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to get notification for new videos.